today's episode of Extra Time with Girls on the Ball, I read out all of the goal scorers from this weekend and then 20 minutes will likely have passed and we'll wrap. Ready? I'm Rachel.
I'm Sophie.
And this is Extra Time with Girls on the Ball. Okay, so I was a bit dramatic in my intro.
Just a little bit.
We will actually talk about...
I'm quite used to that from you.
Okay. We will actually talk about the WSL results. We had a slightly normal week last week and we reverted back to the exciting upsets and the bonkers games this week. And safe to say the Championship has taken a similar route this week. So we will touch on that as well. Some exciting results there, some movement in the table. We will, of course, reveal Sophie's moment of the week.
Christ, I've got to think of one now.
Every week you do this. And we'll briefly look ahead at the Champions League as well, which kicks off tomorrow, and we are heading to España. So looking forward to that. Make sure, first of all, that you like and subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen, whether it's on YouTube or on your podcast app, so you don't miss an episode. And also, drop us a message or a comment or anything like that on all of the socials, because we are there as Girls on the Ball as well. So, WSL scores on the doors. First and foremost, Manchester United 5, West Ham 0. Jace, Turner, Paris, Garcia and Mallard all on the score sheet there. Manchester City 0, Brighton 1. Lee Min getting that goal against her former club. Everton 0, Chelsea 3. Fleming Kerr and Aggie Beaver-Jones getting the goals there. Spurs 1, Liverpool 1. Bizet and Hogg getting the goals. And Bristol 0, Aston Villa 2. On goal from Connolly and Salmon getting on the score sheet as well. And I have left out the goal scorers for Leicester versus Arsenal, which is Leicester 2, Arsenal 6. So let me get my head straight. We had, give me the Leicester goal scorers, Sophie, because they were
Santini.
Yes.
And Janice came in the first
Then
half.
we had Lacasse, we had Russo, we had Ford, we had Palova, we had Blackstenius and Hurtig all getting on the score sheet for Arsenal, and I am impressed with myself that not only did I remember them all, but I'm pretty sure I got them in order.
I think Ford came
Shut up.
first, but hey.
Cut that bit. Right, yeah, so a bit of a...
I might be wrong.
Bit of a wild one. We're going to start at Manchester United 5, West Ham 0, because Sophie, you were at this. Tell our listeners how it unfolded. Do you think the score was a fair reflection of the game?
So I do and I don't. So
great, good start. Here we go.
Manchester United came racing out of the blocks. They started full of energy. They got a goal within 3 minutes. JC got her first WSL goal as well.
Woo!
So they came racing out of the blocks, full of energy. Ella Toone was having her best performance in that first half that I've seen her have in a long time. She was everywhere. She was
Brilliant.
threading through balls. She was through the middle. She was on the wing. She was just superb. And but then West Ham kind of got back into the game in that first half, I think, and it was just as they were finding their feet, and they did really suffer with like 2 early injuries as well. Viviane Assi had to go off because of a knock to her head, and Honoka she had to go off because she'd done something to her foot. So 2 really early changes for Rhiannon Skinner that really makes it hard to adjust to or like settle straight away. They were just about settling, and then Millie Turner popped up and scored an absolute glorious,
beautiful
top corner curler. From a place that you never really see her. So that kind of changed the momentum back into United's favour. Then there was 12 minutes of injury time in the first half. Nikita Paris got on the end of another ball through from Toone, I think it was, to make it 3-1, 3-0 at the break. And I think there was suspect defending in that. I think Howard Stoker let the ball go through her. But it was late in the game and I think they just dropped. And then in the second half, they came out with a complete different energy, West Ham. They were utilising their width a lot. Emma Harris was causing problems down the left. And they were having and Lisa Evans down the right, and they were having some real joy pushing United back. And Mark Skinner, when I spoke to him afterwards, was really disappointed with his side's second half performance. Yes, they added 2 goals in the last 2 minutes through... Mallard was the last one, and
yes.
Lucia Garcia. Both substitutes. So I guess that was good that they spread the goals around. But he was very disappointed with the way that they dropped off. Whereas for Rhiannon Skinner, 2 Skinners.
Oh yeah, it was the Skinner derby.
Skinner derby. For Rhiannon Skinner, she said that they could build on that second half, and that the first half was all wrong in terms of an energy perspective, but from the second half they could build and they had their game plan and they stuck to that, and that gives them hope for, going forward next week.
Okay, fair enough. I was then the other side of Manchester. I did Man City Brighton. And this was, initially, as expected, Possession-wise, all Manchester City. Chloe Kelly nearly scored in the first 20 seconds, literally the first foray forward. She bombed down the wing on her left foot, hit the crossbar, and I kind of thought to myself, okay, this is going to be potentially a drubbing here. But no, despite having all the possession, Manchester City struggled to really create really good, clear-cut chances. You know, they did have shots on target, but Brighton did very well defensively to kind of minimise the amount of shots they had that were on target, but also coming into the box too much. Like a lot of the shots, they were kind of forcing them to take them from far out. And I think, you know, sometimes I can be guilty of, particularly if I'm sitting with my camera and I'm doing multiple jobs and working for Gravity as well. And sometimes you just feel like, oh, this game is all City, they're going to get a goal. And actually, when you sit and reflect, you see, actually, that was part of Brighton's game plan. They knew they weren't going to have a lot of the ball. They knew they weren't going to have a lot of chances. They had one good chance early with Turland early on, and it was a good save from Chiara Keating, and you know, you'd nearly expect her to be scoring them because she's so clinical in the box. But it wasn't until the 81st minute, and it was Bremer and Lee Goon Min, two former Man City players, linking up to get a lovely goal, really good goal. And it was so like reminiscent of the last Manchester game that Brighton played, which was last weekend against Manchester United. A goal up, and the board goes up, and it's 7 minutes of injury time, and I thought, oh my god, like Man City were absolutely hammering Brighton at that point. But no, they'd learned from that game. They held on to claim 3 points, first time beating Manchester City. And another interesting thing is that the last 15 away games, Brighton have not had a clean sheet. So to get that clean sheet against Man City is extra special.
It also ended Manchester City's impressive home run.
Oh god, yeah.
So that came to an end. I think it was really interesting in the huddle afterwards. Brighton filmed the huddle, and Mal Phillips was like, we showed our character and resilience, and you just needed that one chance. All you need is one chance and you can take it. And that's exactly what they did. And I don't know about you, but Manchester City were so impressive in the first couple of games of the season, and they're creating chances, but I do worry that this is becoming a bit of a theme of them not taking chances. When you look at the game against Leicester, yes, they won it. They had so many chances and they didn't put the game to bed.
An early one goal, yeah.
And they allowed Leicester back into the game. The same against Arsenal last week. They had so many chances and they didn't put the game to bed, and Arsenal came back and won the game. And you're seeing that again this week. They had something like 35 chances created. It's ridiculous, but
not even
it's
half,
all very well
on target.
Creating those chances, but if you can't convert them, then you've got a problem. And I do wonder if, yes, I know they're playing brilliantly and they're dominating opponents, but at the end of the day, results are what matters, and they're not getting the results.
Absolutely. One for Gareth Taylor to look at, and it is a quick turnaround because next weekend it is the Manchester Derby at Old Trafford, so that's an exciting one. Right, we're going to run through these results quickly because we weren't at these games, but we were keeping an eye on them while we were at our games and while we were travelling down to Leicester. But Everton 0, Chelsea 3. Sounds like Everton maybe were unlucky to go into the break 1-0 down, Fleming getting that first goal. And it was something that I think both managers touched on in the post-match. But then Chelsea came out better in the second half. I think they changed it up a little bit. And Emma Hayes was very happy with the second half. Super goal from Sam Kerr. And Aggie Beaver-Jones getting another goal, which is brilliant. Everton have been suffering with illness and injury in the squad. And it was, of course, Chelsea's first game since Emma Hayes announced that she was stepping down. So there was lots of other little bits kind of off the pitch going on to make this one an interesting one. And Everton had suffered a 7-0 defeat in the Conti Cup in the week. So I actually thought a 3-0 loss was less than I thought it was going to be.
I'm still worried for them. I'm really worried for them because I do think that, yes, I think they created chances in the first half. And Emma Hayes said, Everton were lucky to go in 1-0 down at half-time. But their squad is so threadbare. And I just worry about them defensively. Yes, they're creating chances, but they've not got like an out-and-out scorer to convert those chances. And then defensively, they're just super shaky, especially as the game goes on. And
struggling, Natalie Bjorn is out as well. Yeah. It's just, it's a difficult one at the moment for them. There was also the Spurs versus Liverpool game, which ended 1-1. Lovely goal from Bizet. If you're going to check that out, do. You spoke to me about that Martha Thomas movement for that goal. Yeah,
she drags the defender out. So it's a brilliant finish from Bizet, don't get me wrong.
Ran half the pitch.
She ran half the pitch, but it was that movement in the last phase from Thomas to drag, I think it was Gemma Bonner out of position, drag her with her that allowed the space for for Bizet to go in and have the space to score. And that was such like intelligent forward play. So it just shows what Robert's been saying recently, is it's not about just Martha Thomas getting goals. It's about everything that she adds to that team, and that is her pressing, and it's also her intelligence of her movement, and it creates opportunities.
Because not only did she drag the defender out, but had Bizet needed another option, she was also there as another option. So it was a very good movement from her. But it sounds like that a 1-1 was a fair result when hearing from both managers post-match. Hogg getting her first goal for Liverpool, which is good. Kiernan is coming back as well into fitness, which is good. So is Van der Sande, and that's all good stuff for Liverpool. Although an injury to Mia is hopefully not too serious.
Yeah, I really hope so, because I think it looked like her knee, and that's a real worry. And Mia, she's a really young talent. She plays for the under-19s with England, and she has all of the potential to become really, really good. I know Matt Beard rates her really highly. He says she's one of the best young talents in the country.
Wow.
And she's been she got injured in niggle in pre-season or something, so it meant that she hasn't really had all that much time in the first team, and she kind of just come on at the end. But she got her first goal midweek in the Conti Cup. So it's going to be a massive blow if that's anything really serious, and I really, really hope that it's not.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Then we had Bristol 0, Aston Villa 2. Carla Ward will be breathing a sigh of relief with this one. They are no longer bottom of the table. This result lifting them above Bristol on goal difference. Pretty poor goal difference for both of them in the minus figures, but enough for Villa to now be 11th. But time ticked on this one. They didn't score until after the 70th minute, I think it was, and it was an own goal. And I feel bad because I've been raving about Megan Connolly, and God love her, it was nothing she could do about it. But I always feel like it's like a commentator's curse when you've been giving someone so much praise. But yeah, an own goal from her, and maybe that kind of just lifted things for Villa, because Ebony Salmon then got the second goal.
Ebony Salmon changed the game.
Scoring against your old club as well.
Her pace that she brings to that attack is when she's on form, and I think it has taken her probably a bit of time to get readjusted back to the WSL.
Sure.
She's been out in America for a while. So just getting it, and she hasn't been playing all that much in America, I don't think. So getting back to full match fitness, getting back, into the groove of things within the WSL. I know she knows Aston Villa, it's her old club, was where she started, but it still takes you time to readjust everything around that move. And it happened quite late in the day as well, I think. So it was really good from her. She changed the game. Her speed is such a weapon, and I think especially alongside Rachel Daly, I think she could be a really good, having a really good impact on that squad coming forward. And it's just about them getting goals. She scored midweek, as did Rachel Daly. But, once that first goal goes in, you suddenly feel that pressure lift.
Yeah.
So I think that sort of has come off her shoulder a bit, and she's now a bit more free to, start scoring, hopefully.
Yes, they are targeting this kind of window for points, because obviously they had tough fixtures.
But I also wasn't really surprised that Bristol have been performing really well. We saw them midweek against Arsenal.
Yeah, you have to credit Bristol as well, because they have been improving this as the season has gone on.
And I think Lauren Smith will be pretty annoyed that they haven't got points out of that, just because of the performance trajectory that they went on. I think they defended really well in that game. But because they've been starting to get results together or starting to put in performances, it will be maybe feel a bit of a... Everyone knows how good Aston Villa can be and how much potential they have in that squad. But still, on the course of the season so far, she'll be a bit disappointed.
She did say to me pre-match that momentum isn't always about results. Momentum is about improving match on match. So, I think we are seeing that from them, which is important. Right, now we have to go to the absolute bonkers match of the weekend. We travelled down from Manchester after our game for this one, and my God, it was wild. Leicester 2, Arsenal 6. You're going to have to summarise this quickly for me if you can. So 8 bloody goals, all of them, by the way, down my end where I was shooting. So thank you very much for that. That never happens. What happened? Short and sweet, Soph.
Game of two halves.
Very good. That's it, the end. Thank you. Thank you for listening to our podcast.
I think it was the quintessential game of two halves, wasn't it? I think I tweeted during the first half when Leicester were sort of running riot around Arsenal, and they were forcing turnovers. Once they got the turnovers, they found there was so much space in behind. Deanne Rose was causing a lot of consternation for Arsenal's defence. With her pace, it meant Steph Catley couldn't do what she wanted to do. Same with Hannah Kane on the other side. She was keeping Katie McCabe very, very busy in that right back.
Kept inverting. She was playing right back, and she just kept inverting and really struggled with
it caused super problems because they were pinning the back. And I think it was a blow that at half-time Deanne Rose couldn't continue. it kind of changed the momentum a bit. But Arsenal came out in the second half and they were just ruthless.
The speed at which they turned the game from 2-0 to 4-2 was something like 12 minutes.
Yeah, and a lot of the goals that they scored came from counter-attacking positions.
And came direct.
And Leicester's problem was that they were so set in the mindset of their attacking football and their high line that they couldn't quite adapt to what was happening. And as you say, Arsenal scored 4 goals in 12 and a half minutes. It was very, very quick turnaround. And
clinical.
And I think before Willie Kirk and Leicester could even breathe, it was gone.
Yeah.
So it's a learning moment for Leicester. I tweeted during that first half that it's very, very fun to watch Kirkball, but it's not always going to work. When it does, it's fun. But when you've got to expect that they're so early in their development that things like this will happen, and that's actually where they're going to learn a lot.
Yeah, and you spoke to Willie Kirk afterwards. Would have been a whirlwind of a match for him. Here's how he felt after it.
Yeah, I mean, that big sigh you just had is probably how I'm feeling. I'm not quite sure what to make of the game yet. I do know that it's a fantastic game in terms of lessons, because we've seen how good we can be, and we've seen how quickly things can turn if you're just half a yard off it. And I mean, I thought Arsenal were pretty devastating in some of their attacking moments in terms of the transition, but yeah, we've got a really disappointing changing room, because obviously being 2-0 at half time, we were really confident. We were trying to correct things at half time, because we felt it was by far from a perfect 45 minutes. The scoreline was fantastic, but those things we had to improve, and we reminded them that keep doing the work, and when we did keep doing the work, but when it came to some crucial moments, we were half a yard off at times.
And then Jonas Eidevall also spoke about what they'd identified at half-time, because I think people probably thought Arsenal got the hairdryer treatment or something, but he said no, they kind of identified the areas that they were causing them problems and sought to address them, and I think they absolutely did that. But this is what he said after the match.
That's what we spoke about in half-time, where I said, if a team choose to go and ID mark us, it's going to be 1v1 situations all over the pitch, and we can't change that. There's no way we can change that, because we're the same number of players. What we can change is to see how much space we have for that 1v1 situation, where we want the space to be. But ultimately, we need to be able to handle those situations, and if they are better than us, then we have to accept that. But our try was not good enough in the first half, and that was, I think we all could agree on that, and being to say keep the same structure, have the same context, but try a much better execution and application, and I think we did that. Obviously it helps getting goals and getting energy and those things, but I think some of the attacking football that we played in the second half, I think that was great to watch. I thought it was a great representation of the Arsenal way of playing football, and a midfield with both Palova and Cooney Cross. I thought they were phenomenal today.
So potentially this is the spark for Arsenal. Everyone is saying after every game, is this the moment? Is this the moment? Potentially this is the moment. Jonas Eidevall said that this is the way Arsenal should be playing this second half. This is how Arsenal should be playing. But we shall see. The WSL does not stop. They've got another game coming up this weekend where they're going to want to play like that again.
I think too much is sometimes made of that. I think they're winning. Winning matters.
There you go.
That all matters. And yes, you want to see a free-flowing Arsenal. And they're showing us in bits about their creativity that is coming together. I would not worry, and I don't think this league is somewhere where you score 6 goals every week these days. It's a bit like the Nations League.
Arsenal
You're not going to win 6-0.
Don't you worry, everything's fine. Quickly, in other Arsenal news, Jodie Taylor has a new role at the club. She's back, Football Services Executive. Sounds very snazzy. We did speak to her a couple of weeks back about her retirement, so if you haven't already, scroll back through and make sure you listen to that episode again, because she was great. Okay, let's move on to the Championship. Another kind of bit of a wild week again. Reading 0, Watford 0, London City Lionesses 0, Birmingham 1, Crystal Palace 3, Lewis 2, Sheffield 0, Durham 1, Southampton 0, Charlton 2, Sunderland 0, Blackburn 1. So some movement again. Charlton are top on 21 points with 10 games played. Sunderland are second on 21 points with 10 games played. And then Palace are third on 20 points, but they do have a game in hand. Southampton on fourth with 18 points. Watford and Lewis are propping up the table on 5 and 4 points respectively. So no doubt some movement again next weekend, but another fun week in the Championship.
Yeah, very fun. It's unpredictable. I think next week it will change again. So no, I think it's a league, as you say, there's 4 points separating, I think, the top 5 places. So it's all to play for. All of those top 5 teams are in the mix, and they will probably stay in the mix until December, and then you don't know what's going to happen after that. There's always a bit of a reset maybe after the December break. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, fascinating league. Can't keep your eyes off it.
All right, the moment has come, as it does every week, and every week you and ah, and you act like you're unexpecting it, and here it is, Sophie's moment of the week. What was it? What stood out for you?
So the first one...
Look at this, every week. More than one. Go on.
Okay, so the football-based one, I think, was Brighton's win against Lee Yumin's goal against Manchester City. She was so happy. Did the knee slide and everything. Didn't really work.
Not her best knee slide.
It wasn't the best knee slide.
Needs work.
But I think it was she was so happy, and in the huddle afterwards they were giving her a pat on the head and everything. So I think she is a player that works really, really hard for the team, and maybe doesn't always get her flowers, as the kids say. So I think I'm going to give her flowers. And the second one, I think, is just a big shout out to the Chloe Lacasse banger of a song that the Arsenal fans sing
Sophie's
everywhere.
fave.
It's now my favourite. I woke up on a Friday morning after the Conti Cup game with it ringing in my ears.
24.
Yeah, don't start, because I've just got it out of my head.
Sorry.
Stop. But it's an absolute banger in the stadium, and I think Arsenal are doing such a good job with their away support, as well as their home support, but their away support as well. I think they've sold out their allocations on quite a few occasions, so
Brilliant.
It's brilliant.
Excellent. Well, they were 2 good ones, even though it was meant to be 1. Right, Champions League kicks off for us tomorrow. We are heading to Barcelona to see them take on Benfica. Then we're jumping on a train down to Madrid to watch Real Madrid versus Chelsea. I'm excited for the Champions League to get underway. They will be on DAZN, so make sure that you tune in, because it is available to watch if you can't get out to watch the games. And it's just fun. Like, this is what we're doing this season. We want to see more teams in the Champions League. So if you want to do that as well, DAZN's your place to go. And of course, we will take you with us. We'll put you in our pocket and take you to Spain. It's going to be great. So if you haven't already, I'm going to remind you again to like and subscribe so you don't miss anything, and any interviews or anything like that coming up on our YouTube channel as well. And yeah, until then, we'll see you next week. Drop us any messages if you want to, if there's anything you'd like us to touch on. And until then, we'll talk to you next week.